Hello and welcome, everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to join us for a Digital World Town Hall meeting. Today is November 11th, 2025, which is a very special day, and we are joined with an audience from around the world. We're grateful for all those that are here with us, both physically and digitally and in spirit. We're grateful for the efforts and the energy that many put into actually just attending these meetings. It's Digital World Town Hall meeting that'll simply go over the things that have transpired this last week. There'll be a special announcement that we'll discuss, as well as this is a very special day, one that not only will be remembered in 2025, but hopefully every month thereafter. And then also general Q&A from anybody that wants to ask questions or topics or just discuss anything that's in general within the digital world or the physical world. We're grateful for those that are co-hosts, specifically Wally. Thank you for all that you do to support so many in so many different ways and consistency. Appreciate that, as well as all those that are with us. We always recognize that we live in a physical world, but there's a spiritual element, and most of the things that are physically seen have already been spiritually created. And that is similar to the digital world. And so we ask that we can just offer a quick prayer. And for those that are live with us, they're welcome to offer that, or I can go ahead and offer it as we get started. Would anyone like to give us a word of prayer today? Okay, I'll go ahead and open this up. Our dearest Heavenly Father, we come before Thee this day and give thanks for life and for the opportunity to be here on earth and to have health and to have understanding of the simple truths of life. We're grateful for the opportunity to assemble and to be able to live in this dispensation where we have so much that's abundant. We're grateful for the ability to come together as family all around the world in different parts of the world, that we can recognize one another and that we can serve one another. We're grateful to come together as a body and a community and a council, that we may be able to add value while we're here on earth, that we as in the body, that we can take the time and the effort that we've been given to constructively be able to know and understand purpose and even Thy will. We ask that Thy Spirit may be with us as individuals and collectively as a body this evening, that we may focus on things that are important to Thee and uplifting to Thee, that we may be better individuals, and collectively together we can build something for future generations that can actually provide the simplicity of choice and freedom. We give thanks for life, and we give thanks for the ability to join together and to have peace and even joy as individuals. We ask a special blessing to be upon those that may need strength and may need upliftment, that they may have guidance and peace and even joy in their lives, that we may see the simple truths and the beauty around us, that we may be able to enjoy the time that we've been given, at the same time be responsible and accountable with our time and with our actions. And we say these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. You know, as I think about that, I think that's actually the first time I've ever opened up Digital World Town Hall. Usually it's others that do. So for those that may not be aware, we recognize that there are secret combinations that are coming together to centrally control humanity. It's just that simple. And they work in different parts of the world, and physical different parts and industries, both private and public. And we recognize that there's an alternative to be able to decentralize that reality. And we're grateful for the clarity of knowing and understanding how that actually works, at least the simple truths that we've been able to understand. There's many different layers to it. This today is, as I sit in a facility where Scott Storanetta actually offices. He's the individual that was actually mentioned in the Bitcoin white paper 3 different times, and some of his team members. We talked about these different layers, and specifically this top layer and how it can provide validations and different services to the rest that's actually underneath this, from identity to finance to storage to communications to assets. Endorsements in governance, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we're grateful to have clarity to understand there's a difference between the technologies and also how they can come together for humanity in general, to find that nice balance, that even balance where an individual can have accountability for their life, even though there's centralized systems that are trying to centralize things, but where we can find a common ground with the individual being able to be free and independent of that centralization through using cryptography. In this case, there's 12 words paired with you as an individual that basically creates derived keys that allows you to basically manage your life and the things that you do. We really believe that the combination of the physical and digital world coming together in such a way where there's peace instead of the conflict around things that we're already seeing, such as digital ID, where in different parts of Africa, they shut down your cell phones. In different parts of Asia, they shut down your bank accounts. And in different parts of Europe, they shut down your ability to work, all if you don't get digital ID. So we're grateful to be able to see a solution to that and to be a part of that for the world. There's really simple elements: derived keys, decentralized identity, basically enables secure, really affordable, as well as, affordable is basically free, right? So all of us can basically use it. It's open, it's standards, but the ability to actually make this become a reality or enable this to become a reality is key. We reported out on the priorities. We're actually wrapping into 2026 priorities. These are where we ended up with 2025 priorities, primarily around exchanges, which we ended up with 7. Our goal was 5. Phones are actually pushed to 2026 as far as new releases and models. We've actually went well over on the home side of orders, over $1 billion in pre-orders there, working on a couple different communities to tie that together on, and then the auto side of it. So this year's been a stellar year as far as advancements, especially with the limited resources, but grateful to be able to be involved in that. Today's a very special day. November 11th, 2025, also known as a holiday. Most may not even understand why, but many folks fought for freedom in the United States of America. It's known as Veterans Day. And around the world, it's looked at as Freedom's Day, especially from a colonial country. We have folks from Sweden/Norway, Canada, Australia, as well as New Zealand. And New Zealand, Canada, Australia are all Commonwealth countries. And these Commonwealth countries, basically, they look at it a little differently than they do here in the US. But the bottom line is we're grateful for such a day of remembrance around freedom and peace. And we want to be able to look at it as a day to remember, not just a day of the month or a day of the year, but a day to be able to disconnect, a day to be able to align and reclaim our digital life as it relates to us as an individual collectively. I'm going to read something specifically around freedom. On this day, we honor those who defend our physical freedom and take our stand in defense against digital freedom. So a lot of the things that the digital world is standing for is that digital freedom that people don't even know where to start to defend it. The world is changing. Governments and corporations are building digital IDs that track, score, and even restrict the individual. But there is another path, one where freedom still belongs to the individual. The path begins with the digital world, which we're grateful for all that are here, but specifically it begins with the individual, with life. One of the things that's happening in Utah, in the state of Utah, is there's a thing called SETI, State Endorsed Digital Identity. And the state is actually recognizing that the individual owns their own life. They don't need an organization, especially a government, to tell them that they are alive. This is something that's happened only in the last couple hundred years. Before that, individuals wouldn't go to a government for an ID or for a birth certificate, etc. So there's a lot to that, but this is a very special day that Really, we want to look at identity, assets, payments, data in a different way. So imagine, if you would, on this day, so specifically on 11/11, or on the 11th day. Today is a Tuesday. Some folks are saying they want it on not a Tuesday, but they want it on a Saturday. But basically, where we actually disconnect. So instead of sending a text, we may just call somebody. Instead of using a Visa, we may use cash. We may use digital forms of cash or gold, but in such a way where it's not centralized. So separating that centralized control and environment that's there. So with that, we'd like to also introduce something that is very special from a lot of people called Life ID. It's specifically a site that is ties to what's called proof of life based upon the life paper. And we'll go through that. This is a combination of something that has come from a lot of different folks from around the world. And I'm going to read the abstract, or actually I'll have the system read it, but it'll help you to kind of understand what this is all about. Here we go.
Abstract. Life establishes a decentralized framework for human verification, continuity, and inheritance, built on the digital world architecture. It replaces proof of work with proof of life. A cryptographic record of human vitality, verified through key events, biometric continuity, and verifiable lineage. Where prior systems secured machines and transactions, life secures the living human experience. Each person maintains a private, sovereign identity endorsed by communities, jurisdictions, or families without surrendering personal data. Life integrates timestamp proofs from independent verification authorities, self-certifying key infrastructures, and privacy-preserving credentials through zero-knowledge attestations. The protocol allows life events, birth, marriage, inheritance, and death to be cryptographically notarized and carried forward across generations under a universal genealogical standard. UGS, estate continuity, proof of lineage, and identity validation converge into one verifiable framework. Life stands as the counterbalance to centralized digital identity and artificial intelligence. Surveillance regimes built on open, auditable cryptography. It restores freedom, privacy, and human self-governance through mathematically verifiable truth rather than institutional trust.
So I think most of us already understand the problem around centralization, surveillance, and then when you layer AI on top of that, there's a lot that's going on, and people need to really understand that, especially a lot of the building that is happening. When you look at AI as we currently experience it, they're spending crazy amounts of money, and they're doing it with off-balance sheet debt-based assets, which the math, it doesn't add up unless they're doing something bigger than what we already articulate or understand with AI. So with that being said, centralization, identity controls, in my opinion, is not even understood to the level of control and damage that we will see within the next 5 years. And they're not just building these big data centers to answer people's questions or to have other forms of centralized artificial intelligence. It's deeper than that. I'm going to go ahead and read this vision real fast.
A living ledger for humanity. Life proposes a new form of consensus, human continuity. Each living identity generates a verifiable pulse within the decentralized ledger, secured not by computing power, but by the ongoing cryptographic confirmation of life itself. Every verified breath, heartbeat, or action becomes a life event, recorded privately but immutably, forming a permanent lineage of existence. These life events can anchor to real-world records, birth certificates, insurance policies, biometric signals without exposing private data.
So insurance is one of the most intrusive centralized systems or services, I personally believe. If you want to get a life insurance policy, or even some of the normal, health insurance or auto insurance, they're very intrusive, not only from your financial identity, but from who you are from a verification standpoint. And then also, if you're looking at health type things, especially whole life insurance, they basically, they'll do EKGs and blood work and tons of other things. And it's not necessarily that it's negative because of the testing, it's negative because of what they can do with it. And so I hope, I want to put out a vision around how can people actually start to be free from a lot of these different control systems, but freed from the control systems by the system. So imagine if you actually, fast forward a weird use case, if you actually got a life insurance policy, and in so doing, the data that you collected from your information that you inputted into a centralized system and others can now see about you. What if you could actually see that data? What if you could actually go from a process, and I'm actually gonna pull open, there's a slide in here. Oops, push the wrong button here. There's a slide in here that goes down. It's actually got.
Michael, are you speaking to the audience? I'm not too sure. We can't see it, but I'm not too sure if you should.
Yeah. You should have told me this a long time ago.
I mean, correct.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Sometimes you share it to the audience, so that's fine. You know.
Here we go. Screen. Okay. So there's a lot that you guys have actually missed, like a lot. So basically, imagine that the individual can actually own their own data from going through some of these processes. So for instance, like whole life insurance, if you just fill out an application, there's data that is collected on you that is credit, that is finance, that is banking, that is taxes, that is social, that is health, pharmaceuticals, how you pay your bills, what you look at. I mean, all of these different data points. And so imagine a world where instead of using that, viewing that as a negative, we could actually use it as a positive. And so the individual could actually build their own systems based upon that same type of an application process. And so when we look at some of these things that we're talking about here, that's really what we're talking about within this document and what we just went through. So this document is now public. It can be seen online. I'll actually leave a link here a little later on, but this is actually the first time that this is going live. And let me go through elements of it real fast.
We still can't see your screen, Michael.
You should be able to. Can anybody see it that's with me here? Is it not sharing again? I'm gonna log out and log back in with you guys. Let's try this again and see if this actually works real fast. Okay, can you guys see it now? No?
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm showing you is basically a new site that is just going live on 11/11/2025, as well as the life paper that is associated with it. And it specifically compares or contrasts what's happening within the digital ID space and centralized systems and life ID, where an individual proves that their own life. So instead of being centralized, it's decentralized. Instead of mandatory control, it's self-sovereign. Instead of a database that it's run off of, it's an architecture, namely these layers that basically use an interface to actually see different elements. Instead of AI-linked surveillance, it is endorsement for namely even governments or governance processes, specifically the state of Utah. And that's one big thing that we're working on is within the state of Utah is around that endorsement, state endorsed digital identity, SETI. It uses the same authentication and decentralized identity from the digital world. There's actually a coin within this environment, the Life coin, that will actually drive and enable this new environment. And that's what a lot of it's based on. So for those that may not be aware, some of the same optics that's within the Bitcoin white paper, which by the way, the office that I'm in is actually the same office that Scott Storinetta office is from. And some of the things that we'll be working on will tie in validation, verification, and endorsements all into this same system. When I say Scott, this is the Bitcoin white paper, a lot of the technology. And it was funny, he actually in a meeting today, he absolutely respectfully corrected me because I was telling him, and some of you have heard me talk about decentralization, and you know how passionate and important it is from my perspective. But he was like, Mike, you don't have to convince us that decentralization is important in this quiet patient voice, but he says, we already believe that, and we have for a very long time, which I think is interesting because this particular reference goes all the way back to him using timestamping around decentralization since 1991. So anyways, it was very humbling at the same time, but we're grateful for the opportunity to not only, work on such a document around life and proof of life, working off of not only the digital world, but also the Universal Genealogical Standard, UGS, that was started long ago, 2017, 2018. But all the details that basically go along with that. So we'll share this with you. This will be a public document, and there's a lot to be understood and realized there. The other thing that's pretty material and going on, there's a gentleman I'd like to welcome on the call. Met him in Florida last week. I actually worked with one of his co-workers or team members long ago. She did an interview probably 4 years ago. A wonderful woman. I look forward to introducing her to you, but his name is Matt, and he may not be aware, but we met in Florida and talked about decentralization, and here we are in Utah talking about the Utah Life pilot and how this can actually tie together some of the things that we did in Florida. Particularly the state of Utah was in Florida at an event talking about decentralized autonomous organizations and the state of Utah and how valuable and important it is. And then basically what you're seeing here is potential legislation that two of the senators that were in Florida with us could actually push through session, which is in January, to basically get it approved. Now, this is massive. It's a 10-year voluntary pilot that we would basically allow individuals to, in a parallel way, start doing things that would actually be a parallel process to the current centralized archaic process. In some ways, it's not fair to call things archaic, but the reality is we're doing things in an old way, and it really hurts or has fraud or has other things that can actually creep into it, where there's technology and systems that can actually do things in a very different way. So we look forward to exploring the potentials here as this pilot in Utah ties to some of the things that are tied to this life-based environment, particularly around privacy and security and the individual owning their own identity and data. There's a lot to it. So we look forward to sharing some of this documentation with you and basically continuing to advance a lot of the things that are happening and really finding that fine balance that we talked about before as it relates to the individual and governance, where in the middle of it, an endorsement process can actually be recognized and enabled because the individual is decentralized. So massive, massive value and importance there. There's a roadmap that basically goes for a millennium. So it's not just 2025, but goes well over 1,000 years. And you're going to find that the way that these assets are actually disseminated. So, those that get in early will actually be rewarded for it. Those that tell others, but it's basically, it's not people putting money in. It's not people buying a miner and paying a power bill. It's people just living their life and proving that they're actually an individual and they're not a machine or artificial intelligence. And there's simple steps that they can actually take to do that. It's actually a real beautiful process. And all of you are hearing about it first, whether this is physical or digital. There's an economy that will run around this environment. It follows the same model where you've got server environments that are nodes, and then access device like phones that basically counterbalance those, and then assets that basically flow through this. There's a coin, a reserve, and bonds. The reserve is really a backed asset that is redeemable real time and spendable in real time. The coin mimics a lot of the Bitcoin attributes, but it's private, it's real time, and there's no fees. And individuals can actually earn them from engaging in the system. But the reality is it's got the same type of optics as Bitcoin, where it halves and it cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. So the folks that get in earlier will actually be able to be involved in this, where I would say that the majority of the folks that are on this call, they would have actually struggled to get inside of Bitcoin back in the day. You know, there's a lot of complexity in setting up an asynchronous miner and then even just keeping control of your keys. So this basically brings these different assets and yields together for a new type of economy that the world hasn't seen today. It's an economy that literally restores balance from life, value, and truth, and really connects the digital ecosystems that are evolving to the real world systems, not only from a financial system, but really all of it collectively together. So Adam, who's actually on the call, will be very influential in the reserve sides of it, which we'll talk a lot more about, but it's more of a stable type asset. So instead of having a dollar that's actually going down, you basically, and then our other assets that are serious, really functional, you basically have a continual nice growth that ties to a lot of these assets. Yeah, so there's a lot of details there. There's also a life bond element that ties to the individual. We look at it as potentially a form of replacing the social security systems that humanity is really, in some ways embraced, in some ways relied on, in some ways given false, pretenses that it's something that they're actually going to be provide the comfort that they would normally have. Which is probably the simplest way to say it. So that's a lot about the bond side of it and how it can actually come together. There's a lot of details that'll basically be coming forthright. There's a lot of Q&As that'll be inside of this, and we're grateful for those that are actually here and going through this as we launch this on November 11th, 2025. And get ready for once a month, we basically come together and remember how we can actually, as Raghu would say, how we can actually, have a shopping party, and where we actually spend, we communicate, we create in a way that actually buys local. So you're supporting a local economy, but it also uses a local type of currency that the individual is built on. And so as people start understanding this redeemability from certain principles, especially this life reserve, people will start understanding how valuable this is and important this is. So those are really the basics of what we wanted to communicate on this day. If there's any questions or thoughts or comments, now is a good time to ask them. So the time is now yours. Thoughts, feedback, comments?
Hey, Mike, really appreciate this. You inviting Jackie and I to the call. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear, Matt.
Might be a little bit louder where I'm at, but
we hear you great. From what you're seeing,
couple notes.
Does this make sense to you?
Oh yeah, well, a couple of notes on what I'm picking up on over here, brother. So it being 11/11, very interesting. Not to brag, but this morning I saw 11/11 on the phone, and of course I knew that was something special. And then also another special note about today, you giving, I think, the invocation to begin the meeting. That was really, the first one that you've done for the meeting. I'm glad I was here for that because that was awesome. So I think this is a special day indeed. The comments about freedom and the sacrifices that other people have made, man. What a world we live in, and what an inflection point we're at today. So truly amazing things going on. Just from my side, everything makes sense, right? I think I'll have to take some time to dig into things like the bond and other strategic kind of pieces within that. But I really appreciate you laying it out like that, and I think we're really well aligned. In addition to, I just want to draw an analogy, I guess, and I love that you all have discussed Ronetta. So when Scott had the ideas about a shared ledger, something special, and that became a vehicle and a model that people now use, and that brings people together, and then basically is turning some systems over on their head. Just that simple concept. that simple concept was about transparency. That simple concept was about a group of us, for example, miners or people with a decentralized mindset. And that concept took root, and it's grown into something. It's grown into something pretty wild. At the same time, we've seen the rise of amazing digital surveillance and the ability to kind of like manipulate or otherwise influence or control humans. And it's not so hard to do, right? The human psychology and the human experience is pretty limited in a sense. So those systems that are well organized, they can really take a toll on people. But I wanted to say that a lot like the okay, so going to Satoshi. So Scott's ideas really unlocked something special. And then the Satoshi, white paper and the growth of the Bitcoin network was really an interesting moment in history. Okay. I think 2025 and 2026 is going to be just as interesting in a sense. I think that there's a new moment for decentralization coming through a new model, similar to a new model that Satoshi put forward and that Scott put forward in terms of decentralized ledger. So, exciting things on the horizon. Happy to be here. I'll share more about that, what I see as another Satoshi moment at another time, but we're all here at a special time, and I'm glad to be a part of it, brother.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your comments and perspective. That's exactly what we would hope the world would see. This is a very special time that we all get to live in and be a part of. I know that there's even folks on this call that it's just difficult to see the realities because there's some people that have their eyes open and they understand, but it's such an amazing time to have your eyes open and to be a part of the solution instead of just kind of hanging back and watching the headlines. So thank you for joining us. And how long have you been involved in these types of decentralized discussions? I know this is your first call here, but how long have you been involved in it?
It's always probably been a part of my journey, just because of the fact that I'm here now. So there's always been something steering these events, right? But specifically probably since, late 2016, when I, was exposed to some of the, the narrative around the movement. And since then, various efforts here and there, but I think, you really have to find the people that share the vision and are available to collaborate before you really kind of know what you're into. And happy to be here with y'all because it sounds like y'all share the vision, and I think we can collaborate. So doing a bit of that since 2016, 2017. But I think the whole ecosystem, even in the last probably 3 years, has changed. I mean, since Corona, the global community has really gotten, I guess, maybe more aligned. There's probably a lot more static than there is to signal in a sense around the world. But the people that are on the signal, I think that there's a growing group of them around the world. And pleased to be a part of that. Pleased that this group is a part of that.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you and grateful for your attendance. Other thoughts or comments or feedback or recommendations or observations or even criticism? Anything? Jackie, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining. You're quiet, but thank you for being here.
No, I late because I was helping a student group with their hackathon projects.
It's
Being
all
here as
good.
well.
It's all good. It's nice to have you.
Yeah, same.
Were you able to observe anything prior, or did you just join recently, or?
No, I 10 minutes after I was really interested about, the life paper and what sharing. So it actually, as Matt mentioned, aligns with everything that we've been talking about and kind of focusing on as well. So it's all about individual responsibility, as well as making sure that as we kind of navigate, we're supporting everyone else in the community to understand their rights and responsibilities as well.
Yeah, you're spot on. Well, thank you for joining, and thank you for doing the interview years ago. You're definitely in the middle of things. I look forward to you meeting and continuing to build a relationship with some of the Digital World community members. And
Yeah.
I know that your influence and your impact is going to make a real difference over the next couple of years. So thank you for being here.
No, I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
There's a cycle of, as people help us, we, in my mind, an opportunity to turn on those that are new to the community.
We're hearing probably every other word, so there's a connection issue, but we're really grateful that you're here, and then some, especially you and Matt. So thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Other thoughts or comments or feedback or observations? And Matt and Jackie, just so you know, we've got folks from all around the world, all different time zones, from Sweden to Australia to New Zealand to Canada and here in the US. So any other thoughts?
Just something to add, if you like, Michael.
Yeah, please.
On the graph, the stability graph, I guess you could call it. When you graph the life reserve versus Bitcoin, etc., I'd just like to add that line graph depicting life reserve, that hasn't included the REITs as yet. Those are yet to be added. We're still choosing the appropriate REITs and adding in the life bonds, which also adds yield and additional stability. So I just thought I'd reference that mostly, even though it's still amazingly stable as per the graph depicts, that's largely commodity based for that stability. And we're going to be adding further stability via the REITs and life bonds, as well as yield. So even more stable, even more growth, and adding cash flow to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what Adam's talking about is this chart. Some of the things that were depicted is only about 70% of it. So thank you for all that you do to help us get to this point, Adam. I know it's been a test, primarily a test of patience. And so thank you for hanging in there. Really appreciate it. Other thoughts or comments?
So this isn't available to us now, is it, Michael?
It's the process for it is currently being launched right now. So there's not a action or a call to action other than getting life, but the ability to earn life coin, the ability to actually purchase life reserves, and the life bond is still being rolled out. So there'll be more details that'll coming, but this is a solid formation really in the process of rolling it out. So we need.
So we can download the Life app, or what's it called?
So the Life app is exactly what you've all been using already, whether it's Hawaiian Life, Vanuatu Life, Fiji Life, Utah Life, Mexican Life. The apps that you're using, it all meshes into the same system. So what you've already learned, there's nothing new. It's like, I know how to log in. I know how to see my assets. I know how to register this. I know how to get a permit. I know how to get a license. All those things are all the same types of realities, but imagine an ecosystem where you can now get validated, or you can get verified, or you can get endorsed by a system that actually uses these same types of tools and technologies, following the same processes. Or you can say, you know what, I don't care about any of that central stuff. I just want to earn it for myself. I want to prove who I am, and I don't want to disclose my identity. I don't want to get endorsed. And the goal is for you to always be private. Your assets are always yours. No one can take them from you. No one can see when you use them or when you use a verification or an endorsement. It is private, and that's the goal. So it's all the same tools and same apps that you're already familiar with, but there's a whole nother ecosystem that's literally rolling out. And today is the day that the world becomes aware of it. And I know we're just a small group, but to be honest with you, some really amazing things happen with a small group of folks. And sometimes there's a lot of noise, kind of like what Matt talked about. There's a lot of chaos and confusion out there, and especially during these times where you got multiple media sources. I don't know if you saw, but Grok released a new version of its image generator and video generator. I think humans will have a very, very hard time rolling out or distinctively understanding what these different things are. I mean, it's very, very realistic. And, you know, being decentralized but verified and endorsed is going to be very important for humanity, even though folks may not even know what questions to ask around it. So, yeah. And, you know, I know that Scott Storanetta and his team and even many of the folks that I've worked with in the past, like Stephen, who connected us, I don't know, our roads crossed half a dozen times in the last couple decades. And this has been a long time in the works. You know, 1991's when Storanetta was actually, you know, talked about some of these things. And I personally bumped into the industry or started just about a year or two after that. And a lot of this is just, it's a good time. It's a good time to be alive. It's a good day to launch things. It's a good day to remember things. Just like Matt talked about, we will recognize 11/11 or 1/11. And hopefully when we see those types of things, it's not just angels, but I want to actually connect with who I am as an individual. I'm one, but one in purpose, and one in earth, and one in family, and one in unity. And the more that we, you know, there was a sign down in New Zealand that talked about, it was actually in Christchurch, no, Queenstown. It talks about others over self. And to see society start caring about others and to be selfless, you know, I could just see a lot of people talk about why there's so much conflict, and lack of connection or divorce or other things. And I really look at that selfish side of things. If we can just overcome that as individuals and then collectively, I think that there can be a really beautiful future. So I hope this is making sense. I hope the layers are making sense. I hope the life paper makes sense when you read it. And as we start actually using some of these things, the life apps, and proving who we are and getting these different assets, I hope that we start realizing what opportunities we really have the ability to be involved with. So other questions or thoughts?
I wonder, Daniel here, from a neighbor country to Sweden called Norway.
You're welcome.
I wonder about this coin and how to connect. Can I have a deposit there and use it for example, I'm into trading a bit in, there could be NASDAQ or gold or whatever. So how to use the usability in normal life or in trading life?
Yeah. So
can you say something?
Yeah, so there'll actually be an element of, I'll go ahead and see if I can kind of just show you the different combinations. There's actually going to be a couple different ones. And it's not just the coin, but you'll basically get the coin and other assets that are of value by sharing with others. And then the reserve is something that you can actually purchase that will create a long-term store of value, kind of like a savings account. And the combination of all of these together will then tie to a rewards environment. And the rewards environment can tie to a card, kind of like what we see here, okay? So it actually ties to a physical card, and you can go into the fiat system if you want to do that. Now,
I have to change to Facebook maybe to see what you are
yeah,
showing me.
it's okay. It's just, oh, you're not able to see. Can you guys see my screen okay? So I'm looking at an interface that basically shows some assets within an environment. This is the Utah Life environment. And I'm grabbing an asset and I'm dragging and dropping it into another asset. And then I'll go ahead and just say I want to actually convert a certain quantity. And then I'll literally just scan it. For those that this is the first time you've actually seen this type of stuff, you basically scan it. It's real-time transfer. It actually goes through a process of transferring assets with no delay and no fees. And the rewards program will do something similar like that. So a coin will be interchangeable with other assets. You can kind of see how these are just interchangeable or have trading pairs with others, depending on what they are, okay? So based upon what assets you have and what trading pairs they have and what exchange price they have. So like, let's say I just want to go and convert this. Actually, let's go back and actually look at the details. So you can kind of see the real fair market value and details associated to it. So yeah, the trading side of it, this is in the digital world. So this is kind of a closed loop system that uses real world assets that has real time liquidity and the ability to transfer, which in other environments, they have to have things like liquidity pools that basically provide the liquidity in an artificial way because there's really not the same assets behind it. So you're going to see the digital world and these ecosystems compete and replace directly the centralized systems. For instance, any of the exchanges, Kraken, Binance, Coinbase, these are all centralized exchanges. Some of them have activities around decentralized environments where someone can own their own assets and trade on it. But for a majority, they're not doing that. So really this uses complete decentralized architecture and tool sets, and it enables the individual to actually do real-time transactions at fair market value of that real time. So does that answer your question?
Great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you able to see the screen and were you able to get the context there?
Yeah, I followed you on Facebook, so
Okay.
I'm back on in the secure app.
Okay.
But yeah, it was very good. Yeah, you showed it in a nice way. So yeah,
Okay.
very exciting. Very exciting.
Thank you for being here, even though it's like 2 or 3 in the morning where you are. We appreciate you
Yeah.
staying up late or waking up early. So thank you.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Yeah. Other thoughts or comments, anybody? Feedback?
Maybe I have one more question. How to can I buy this coin or with the USDT or USDC or whatever? I don't know how to buy your coin, live coin.
There will be trading pairs that will set up with it, and so we're excited to go through that. So we're not announcing that today, but there definitely will be. So
yeah. So it's you can't buy the coin yet. You have, yeah.
no, not yet. No.
Well, okay.
No, you just have to earn
Will
it. You just have to earn it. You just be you, really. You just connect up to who you are. So,
Okay. Okay.
other questions or thoughts?
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
I just want to mention I read through the digital world standards, and I questioned something in there about DAO layering.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it, but I know it's hypothetical data. And I just wanted to bring that up just in case you didn't see it. Kind of similar to like shell companies where you shell a company through holdings.
Mhm.
So that was just kind of a bit of a red flag for me.
Good. Good,
But
good.
it is hypothetical data, so just a bit of a call out there.
That's awesome. Thank you for reading that stuff and pointing anything out that you think is out of place. That's we appreciate that in a big way. So what we'll do is let's question that and put other language in that makes sense and then resurface it. For those that are not aware, the digital world has a legislation process that lasts about 6 months. And so we put it in a draft form, kind of like what you can see here. It's a draft. And then once it's actually approved and reviewed, we basically push it into the law side of it. So there's not a lot of them. We probably only have 3 that have gone through that process all the way. So it's still a new process, but yeah. So thanks, Becca. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problems. Who puts the drafts together?
There's different folks. For instance, that one was actually done. That was done in a standards body. A lot of it was new to me. I really didn't even understand a lot of it, but folks had recommended that it needed to be done, and the digital world was a good place for it. One thing that's exciting that I can tell you a little bit about, and hopefully maybe show you next week, inside of the digital world, there's actually a service called the dispute resolution process. So this replaces, centralized judicial type systems where someone can raise a claim or concern, whether it's a one-on-one case or a one-to-many, like a class action suit. They can be public, like what you see here, or they can be private. And then you can go through a mediation or arbitration process. And if that doesn't work, you can actually hire formal folks that's what they do. And if that doesn't work, you basically go to whatever physical jurisdiction instead of digital jurisdiction that you're in. But the exciting news is we actually have had a team of AI professionals that have been working on this. There are 4 or 5 PhDs, 3 or 4 PhDs that have been working in machine learning and now AI. And they built an actual judiciary type AI that basically could run the digital world from that type of process. So imagine someone has a dispute, they make their claim, then it goes onto a docket, then it goes back and forth. And in the middle of that is this artificial intelligence that basically cares about helping to resolve these disputes. And it follows the governance structure that is basically approved globally within this different legislation process. Does that make sense to everyone? Maybe not. So
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of wonderful things that are moving forward. This week is a special week, and today's a special day. So hopefully it's a day that we remember. And when you see 1111 or 111 or any of these types of numbers, you can think about, just checking out of digital centralized systems and checking into life, maybe putting a device down and maybe just playing a physical game, maybe taking a walk without a device, or just checking into life and doing it in such a way that centralized systems aren't profiling you. You're using financial means that maybe it's a dollar bill, maybe it's cash in whatever currency that you're in, maybe it's a gold back, maybe it's a digital payment, that's not in the centralized system. So yeah. Other thoughts or comments?
A little comment. My son has his birthday 11/11, and his father has 01/01.
Wow, that's special. That's what a quinky dink, huh? Yeah. That's awesome. Other thoughts or comments before we wrap up the day? Does anybody want to offer a prayer for us as we close?
I'm at the prayer center at the moment. I've been for 5 weeks now, so maybe I can.
You want to offer us a prayer? You're welcome to even do it in your own language too, if you like.
Thank you. Kjære himmelske far, vi takker deg for Michael og alle som gjennom denne call today. Takk, Herre, for din store kjærlighet. Takk for din nåde. Takk for din visdom. Takk for at du møter hver enkelt i deres behov. I Jesu navn. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And thank you for those listening online. We appreciate your attendance and for all that you do and stand for. Much love, and we'll talk to you later.